Hello, we're in a very different place today. I'm at my parents' place cat sitting, hence the different view, and also I didn't bring my ring light, so I apologize if there's some weird shadows going on. But today I'm going to be talking about the 2021 releases that I'm most anticipating. So that's 21 books I'm talking about that come out in 2021. I did not prepare quite enough for this video and write down what all the publication dates are for each of these. So editing Kaz, I'm so sorry. You're gonna have to chop and change everything into chronological order. Love you. Most of these are also from the first half of the year, so I might do a second video closer to the middle of the year talking about more books that I'm excited about coming out in the rest of 2021. But anyway, let's just jump straight in and talk about the books coming out this year that I'm so excited about. Across the Green Grass Fields by Shannon Maguire. This one is coming out so soon. I think I actually haven't even read book 5 in this series yet. Kicking myself about that. I will remedy it soon. But Across the Green Grass Fields is the 6th book in the Wayward Children series, which is a series of companion novellas in which we follow various children who at some point have stumbled across a doorway to a magical, fantastical world. And the books either follow their journeys in these worlds or the aftermath of it once they've kind of returned back to the mundane earth that we know and essentially are trying to readjust to life in a world where they feel like they don't belong. In this one in particular, we follow a girl who discovers a portal to a world with centaurs and unicorns and kelpies. Sounds like it's going to be a magical time. Winterkeep by Kristen Cashore. This is the 4th book in the Graceling Realm series. The first book was Graceling. The second one was kind of like a prequel companion, so set in a different part of the world with different characters. That one was Fire, and my favorite, oh my lord, I loved that book so much. I have yet to read the 3rd book, Bitter Blue. So on my TBR I have Bitter Blue and Winterkeep, because Winterkeep is a continuation of Bitter Blue. It's set 4 years afterwards. Not going to touch upon the synopsis obviously because it's quite far into a series, but in the first book, Graceling, you're kind of introduced to a world where some people have graces or like magical abilities. I've really enjoyed everything I've read from this series so far, so I cannot wait to get to this one. Hall of Smoke by H.M. Long. This is an epic fantasy in which we follow Hessa, who is a warrior priestess with the power to turn her enemies' bones to dust with a scream. How cool does that sound? I think she's also banished for not following through with a command to kill a traveler, and while she's away the entire priesthood is obliterated. Soldiers, deceitful gods, newly awakened demons, redemption, revealing harrowing truths. It all sounds super cool. Very excited to dip my toes into that one. Last Night at the Telegraph Club by Melinda Lowe. So this is a queer historical novel set in the 1950s during the Red Scare in San Francisco. We follow Lily, who falls in love with another girl. So it's this love story with Lily and Catherine, and they find this lesbian bar called the Telegraph Club amidst a backdrop of paranoia with the Red Scare and also her father's looming deportation. My apologies, the battery has died, so if the clip is slightly different, I'm so sorry, because this whole video is chopping and changing and moving all of the clips to be in chronological order because I didn't do the work ahead of time. So I'm so sorry if I've been like all over the place. I'm a mess. I'm a mess. The Mask Falling by Samantha Shannon is the 4th book in the Bone Season series. In book 1, The Bone Season, we meet Paige, who is working in the criminal underworld of Scion, London. And her job is to basically scout for information by breaking into people's minds. So she is a form of clairvoyant in this world called a dream walker. And in the world of Scion, just her being alive is an act of treason. She's essentially like kidnapped and taken to this city that's been held secret for a really long time. Lots of things are unveiled in the Bone Season. A Vow, So Bold and Deadly by Bridget Camera. This is the 3rd book in the Curse Breakers series. The first book is A Curse So Dark and Lonely, and it is a series that I do very much enjoy. But A Curse So Dark and Lonely is a YA fantasy, and it is a bit of a Beauty and the Beast retelling. In book 1, we meet Harper, who is from our world. She is super kick-ass and strong-willed. Really loved her as a character. She also has cerebral palsy, so we see some disability infertility rep in here as well. But Harper essentially involves herself in something that she sees on the street and is magically whisked to this fantastical realm. And we meet the Prince of Emberfall, who has been cursed. Really enjoyed book 1. Book 2 I didn't love quite as much, though I did like the new characters that we met. So I'm very curious to see how everything culminates in book 3. We shall see. The Project by Courtney Summers. This is one I am super excited about. I read Sadie by Courtney Summers and absolutely loved it. And I feel like I'm really going to enjoy The Project as well. From what I understand, this is about a cult, which I'm super fascinated about. I just think this is going to be a winner for me. Pretty confident 5-star prediction right here. In particular, we follow a girl named Lo, whose sister joined this thing called the Unity Project. But I think Lo suspects that not everything is quite as it seems with the Unity Project and something weird or sinister is happening. Especially when a man shows up claiming that the Unity Project killed his son. And I think Lo sees this as a bit of an opportunity to investigate and hopefully find her sister. A History of What Comes Next by Sylvain Nouvelle. So I was instantly drawn to this one because of the author. I really enjoyed the Sleeping Giant series. So very excited to hear that they're coming out with another series. The concept for this one is also really interesting. So we have Mia, who's from a family that has basically shaped human history for generations. And it's her turn at the dawn of the age of rocketry. So this is set in the 1940s, and her mission is to lure Werner von Braun away from the Nazi party and into the American rocket program and secure the future of the space race. But Mia's family may not be the only ones who are trying to influence history. Sounds so cool. The Gilded Ones by Namina Fauna. So this is another YA fantasy, the first in a new series, and it's one that I think I have a proof copy that I received in a subscription box in 2020, and it's one I'm really excited about. It sounds really interesting. In this one, we follow 16-year-old Deka, and she basically lives both in fear and in anticipation of the blood ceremony, which essentially determines whether she will become a member of her village. So she is praying that her blood runs red. However, on the day of the ceremony, her blood runs gold. But there is a mysterious woman who comes into her life and says, you have a choice. You can stay in your village and submit to your fate that is apparently worse than death, or she can leave to fight for the emperor in an army of girls just like her. Klara and the Sun by Kazuo Ishiguro. In this, we follow Klara, who is an artificial friend, and from her place in the store, she observes the people out on the street and those that come into the store, and she's hoping that one day a customer will choose her. Just knowing Kazuo Ishiguro, I think this is going to be a really fascinating story, and I love the fact that it's going to be narrated by this artificial friend, not entirely human, but obviously it's very observant, and it sounds like it'll pose a lot of questions about what it means to be human, what it means to love and to form connections, and I'm very excited about it. I think it's going to be a good one. The Conductors by Nicole Glover. In this one, we meet Hetty, who is a former conductor of the Underground Railroad and now solves crime. But this is like a historical fantasy. So whilst Hetty was a conductor for the Underground Railroad, she relied upon her wits and magic to help usher people north. This just sounds so good. Hetty and her husband Benji have settled in Philadelphia, solving murders and mysteries that the white authorities won't touch. Unfortunately, they do find the body of one of their friends, which brings them into another mystery where they might have to face some ugly truths. Really, really excited by that one. Perfect on Paper by Sophie Gonzalez. So this is about a bisexual teen in school who gives out love advice to her classmates anonymously. However, there's a guy who finds out her identity. And I think there's a little bit of blackmailing involved. In order to keep the secret, she agrees to help him win his ex back for him. Sounds like it'll be an interesting one, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of shenanigans. The Prison Healer by Lynette Noni. Now, this is a book that I have had the pleasure of reading already, though it was an early version of the book before it was actually picked up by a publisher. So I'm really excited to jump back into it and read the final version, because I whizzed through this book. I literally couldn't put it down. So this is a YA fantasy. We follow Kiva, who is in this notorious death prison, basically fighting for her own survival. And she works as the prison healer. The rebel queen ends up getting captured and she is incredibly ill. So Kiva is tasked with keeping her alive long enough to undergo the trial by ordeal, which is a series of elemental challenges. I really, really enjoyed this book. I'm, like I said, so excited to reread it. and for it to be out in the world. Witches Steeped in Gold by Shannon Smart. This is a YA Jamaican-inspired fantasy, and in this we follow two witches who are sworn enemies, but I think they join forces and enter a bit of an alliance in order to take down some mutual threat. The two characters that we follow are Araya, who has spent her life in a cell, and Jasmine, who is the queen's daughter. Her sister had previously died to strengthen her mother's power, and I think Jasmine has no interest in following that path as well. It sounds like it's going to be a really interesting one. Lots of dark, dangerous magic, revenge, betrayal. Bring it on. Sounds like it's going to be a good one. Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. So I loved The Martian, and this sounds like another book in a similar vein. Out in space, really high stakes. I love that. It follows Ryland Grace, who is the sole survivor on a mission to basically save the Earth from extinction. And Ryland has been asleep for a very long time and wakes up very far from home and with two dead crewmates. And I think his memories are very slowly starting to come back to him, so sounds like an intense one. Heartstopper Volume 4 by Alice Oseman. This is the fourth book in a graphic novel series which I absolutely adore. We follow Nick and Charlie, who in book one develop a friendship, and then it grows into something more. It is a very sweet series. I love the two of them together. Some of the conversations it does touch upon include being outed, questioning one's own identity and sexuality, and in particular bisexuality, mental health, and eating disorders as well. So I'm really looking forward to continuing on and seeing what happens in Nick and Charlie's story next. Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This one is another one of the books that I'm excited about because of the author. I adore The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and then I also really enjoyed Daisy Jones and the Six, so I'm excited that Taylor Jenkins Reid is coming out with another book. It sounds like it's going to be full of mystery and intrigue and drama. We have 4 famous siblings, and every year they hold an epic party to bring a close to summer. The book spans 24 hours, and by the end of this party the house will be up in flames. So I think we take a look into each of the 4 siblings and whatever secrets they might be hiding, as it all culminates in a pretty explosive conclusion. The Wisteria Society of Lady Scoundrels by India Holton. Now, I recently heard about this one actually from watching Jamie's Library's anticipated releases of 2021 video. She got me really excited about this. So I am very keen to pick this book up. It is a historical romance written by a New Zealand author, and it follows the very prim and proper Cecilia, who is also a thief. She's a member of the Wisteria Society crime sorority. Then enters Ned, who is a sometimes assassin and is pretty much smitten with Cecilia from the first time they meet, which complicates things a little bit because he is under direct orders to kill her. Yes, a historical romance with an assassin and a thief. As you probably know, assassin is one of my buzzwords. So, gimme now. Empire of the Vampire by J. Kristoff. I'm sure that a lot of you are aware I am a huge fan of the Nevernight Chronicle, and this series sounds like it's going to be even more dark and bloody and smutty, and I'm here for it. This obviously is about vampires, and it's set in a world where the creatures of the night have been walking around by day with no fear for a few decades, I think. And we follow a man named Gabriel, who is an ex-monster slayer. Now, he murders the vampiric king and is imprisoned, and this is basically him telling his story. Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune, which is a contemporary fantasy about a ghost who refuses to cross over and he falls in love with the ferryman. Yes, please, that all sounds great, and I think it's queer as well. So Wallace is the ghost, he's died, and at his own funeral, the Reaper comes to collect him. And instead of taking him directly into the afterlife, he takes them to this tea shop. And the owner of the tea shop, Hugo, is also the ferryman to help souls cross over. I love the sound of that, I cannot wait. So apparently we might see the first installment in the Threads of Power trilogy by V.E. Schwab. There is no specific date confirmed. Granted, the tweets I'm looking at are from 2019, so that is a lot of time for things to change, especially after the thing that was 2020. So I have no confirmation one way or another that this is still the case, but I can see that the plan was to start the Threads of Power series in 2021. And it is a sequel series to the Shades of Magic series, which starts with A Darker Shade of Magic, which is a series I really enjoyed. So Threads of Power is supposed to be set 7 years after A Conjuring of Light, and I think we meet some new people, but also get to see some old characters. I may have missed an update, in which case I apologize, but I have my fingers crossed that things go well for Threads of Power. And that concludes my list of 21 books that are coming out in 2021 that I am most looking forward to. As I mentioned, probably missed something very shamefully, glaringly obvious, but I would absolutely love to hear about some of the releases coming out this year that you are most looking forward to. So I'll talk to you guys about that all in the comments, but that is all that I have for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon in a new video. Bye!